to Yeah, We Read It. I'm one of your hosts, Meggie Gates.
And I'm your other host. My name is Laura Petro.
And this is the podcast where we, two best friends, are reviewing and reading young adult novels from our youth. If you're just joining us, we have been reading the Clique series by Lacey Harrison, and we are now on book 7.
No, book 8.
Oh my gosh.
So much time has passed.
It feels very nonlinear.
It feels so nonlinear.
So we are on book 8, Sealed with a Disc, and if you want to go back, you can. If not, we're going to summarize, apparently, book 7, the last one.
Yep, and we're happy to have you here, and we're going to jump right into it, because wow, this book is a doozy.
Yep, we need to cover a lot.
So I do want us to start right off the bat with, at the end of the last book, we were like, well, this whole thing's probably going to get thrown away very quickly, because that's how these books usually end. Like, we're introduced to, like, will be the plot for the next book, and then 20 pages in, the plot changes. In this book, this is the only Clique book that picked up exactly where we left off. Like, it picked up a second where we left off, and the plot was cohesive with what we thought the book was going to be about. It's still about the room.
Genuinely golf claps for Lacey, because this is the first book where the book ends on cliffhanger, picks right up.
Picks up right where we left off. We are not a week in the future. We're not 2 days somewhere else.
Nope.
This is, it's point A to point B. It is linear. We are there. There's no cutting away to anything. It's just first time it's happened. I'm so happy.
Personally, I think she got bored with this series, and this is Ghostwriters, and I hope that
I've been trying to find out if this series ever got ghost written.
Interesting.
I don't know.
So, summarize last book. Skye Hamilton, who is the 8th grade alpha, was like to the pretty committee, you guys have to go on the scavenger hunt, and you will get a key to this bomb shelter that we figure out, okay,
this is the listeners, this is the biggest part of this book, and it's truly insane.
It is a reveal that gave me goosebumps.
Ugh.
So the bomb shelter lights are off, and then the lights go on. There's a gasp, and that's how book 7 ends. And on book 8, we figure out what is in there is Starbucks Frappuccino, popcorn machine, who cares? They have TV access to the boys' therapy sessions, the Briarwood Boys therapy sessions.
Yeah, they're like class, they're called Emotional Sensitivity Powwows, or ESP, and all these girls do is they just, like, eat popcorn, drink coffee, and watch these boys talk about their feelings.
It is diabolical.
It's diabolical. It is insane. It's insane. Like, I remember just, like, reading that and being like, oh no, what? So
they have this Care Share Bear that the boys pass around, and there's a camera in there.
Yeah.
And there's no good way that this is going to end up, because first of all, obviously an invasion of privacy. Secondly, whatever they say about you in therapy, you can't be like,
you can't unhear it. You can't unhear it, and you can't be mad about it, because you can't be like, I heard you talk about this in your emotional sensitivity powwow class.
Exactly.
It's a whole thing. I will say, when we do pick up where we left off with the room, it's actually Skye's group. They prank the pretty committee by putting fake snakes everywhere.
That was pretty cool.
And I love Skye. I'm sad that she's gone for the rest of the series, probably.
She's pretty insecure, though.
Oh, I did, but she felt more human in this book. But anyway, let's jump into it.
So they get a little taste of ESP. Nothing really happens with the first session. But Skye says that the whole plot of this book is the 5 girls in the pretty committee need to show up with dates to her big 8th grade Halloween party.
Yeah, and end of the year party.
End of the year bash.
Yeah.
And she gives them free access to the room.
In exchange, Massey has to make Chris her date.
Yes.
And if Chris ably is not Skye's date for her party, they're kissing the room goodbye.
Yep.
So, but here's the thing, and this is my big flaw with this book, is in the last book, as we know, Skye had written this poem, and she's been into all of these boys' rooms, and she's dropped off a key. But now, all of a sudden, she's never met Chris before? Like, I was like, bitch, how'd you get that key in his room?
I'm confused, too, because in the poem, it seems like they had rode home together
Right?
after school.
That's
often.
what she had said. He'd given her a ride home from school once.
I have a lot of thoughts on this too. Why wouldn't you suspect that he doesn't like you? Because every note that Massey drafts and passes to Skye is like, P.S. Do not bring up that I wrote this letter. I'm very, very, very shy. And I'm like, I'd be like, this is not a real person.
This is not a real note. It can't be.
But she's kind of low-key an idiot.
Yeah, but we love her for that.
We love Skye for being dumb.
Yeah, we love Skye for being dumb.
So,
wow.
The 5 girls have to find dates. That is also a part of the thing. And they have to find hearts, which are hot, alpha, rich, and toned. And what really starts off the drama between the boys and the girls is they go to Slice of Heaven and they see the Briarwood Boys after a soccer game. And Massey is like, this is your time to flirt.
Claire, show everybody how to flirt. I laughed so hard. I was like, of course Massey can't flirt with anybody.
I know.
She's such a...
closeted lesbian. But I was like, this is kind of cute, because I thought it was cute that Cam was sitting down and, like, pulled Claire onto his lap.
Yeah.
And I think they just they vibe on their own, but when you're put in that box of flirting in middle school, you're gonna put on a show.
And Claire put on the worst show, because she got herself in a real pickle. She, like, steals Cam's backpack and is like, ha ha ha, I'm gonna go through it. And then Cam makes a joke of like, no, I don't want you to find all my tampons. And I did write down, oh my gosh, on page 30, it was Claire being like, Claire hated that Cam knew what tampons were. And I was like, why would you hate that?
There is a lot of weird period phobia.
Yeah.
It shows up later, too. Alicia, I think I had notes
Oh
written
my
down.
gosh, when Alicia and Lane had her period later, and Alicia's like, stop saying that word. And it's like, why are we so grossed out about this?
As we know, coming from an abstinence-only education, I must ask, I thought you get your period and then you get boobs. Is that not?
Yeah, well, Lane makes that joke, remember? She's like, I'm surprised you don't have it yet. You're so developed.
And she asked that, and I was like, okay, it's a joke, but is it? I don't understand.
And honestly, it's different for everybody.
Okay.
That's a weird thing about periods.
I gave up trying to study the women's body, and then that was when I realized I was non-binary. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. This is too confusing. Let's just rewrite
So
the scales.
confusing. But anyway, Claire, making her big show of flirting with Cam,
Yep.
runs with his book bag into the bathroom, and Cam's like pissed. Cam's like, no, you have to give me my book bag now. And she's like, what am I gonna find? He's like, no, give it back. And then she ends up finding out like printed IMs from this girl Nikki.
Yep.
And then she comes out of the bathroom, hands him his book bag back, and they're just like dead silent with each other. And then their entire vibe is just ruined for the rest of this book, because Claire is now suspecting of something, but won't talk to Cam about it.
Yep. And Cam won't talk to Claire about it, even though Cam clearly can tell what Claire read.
I know, exactly. And like that was my big issue with both of them this book, is how unwilling to talk about things they are. And I get that they're 12. They're in 7th grade. Of course they don't know how to fucking talk about issues.
Yep.
But, it is bad. Like, it is just, like, reading it made my stomach queasy.
It is a nightmare. We don't really get a lot from Slice of Heaven. The boys like Dylan because she acts like a boy, and I think Alicia and Josh's crush gets back on. Oh, that's later.
That's later. But
right.
We'll get there. Let's dive into... They go to their first ESP watching session.
Yep.
They skip their geology extra credit class to go sneak into this bomb shelter so they can get a taste of ESP. And Claire's really hoping that she can find, something about this Nikki. And Massey's just like, whatever, Darrington's going to be there. I need to make sure Kristen, Dylan, and Alicia have dates for this. Otherwise, we're the cheater girls at Skye's famous couples party, and that'll be embarrassing.
Which I don't get. If they went as the cheater girls at the end scene when they all have those velour sweatpants outfits, that would be a great Halloween
To be fair, they couldn't go as the cheater girls, though, because there's only 4 of them, and there's 5 girls on the pretty committee.
And most of the cheater girls are POC.
That's a bigger point. Yeah.
Let's be real, though. The pretty committee would do it.
They would do it, absolutely.
They wouldn't give a fuck. My favorite part, though, going back to Alicia realizing she has a crush on Josh, which is now
we're in ESP world. First ESP session.
Is because he talks about how he feels bad. He is so mean to his sister and makes her clean her room. And she's like, oh, so he's not a clean person. And all of the girls notice this as a red flag. They're like, Alicia, are you upset that he makes his sister clean his room?
No, and Massey's like, approved. And Kristen's like, no. Did we all hear the fact that Josh just clearly stated he, like, manipulates his sister by, like, dangling her Barbie dolls above the garbage disposal in order to clean his room for him. And that's why his room is so freakishly clean, which was the thing we discovered in the last book. And it was just like, that's psychotic.
And it's not Alicia settling. No. Alicia, like, jumps out of her
Alicia's
chair.
like, oh my god, thank god he's not this clean. And Kristen's like, you heard what he said, though, right? And,
yes.
And she goes, I'm just glad he's not that clean.
And this is when there's a little bit of teasing in the ESP group, and this is when deep-rooted insecurities burrow in further, because Darrington and Cam are teasing each other, and Cam is like, Darrington, why don't you tell Massey that thing that pisses you off so much? And Darrington is like, Cam, when are you going to tell Claire about Nikki? So Laura and I are texting each other back and forth like, oh, Cam cheated.
Yeah, we're like, what? So something's up. Like, we were texting each other as we were reading this, being like, oh my god, what's going to happen? And then we also find out that Kemp Hurley, who is, once again, the team's biggest perv, that's what his character is described as twice in this book.
Not great.
Not great at all. Kemp and Chris Plovert both have crushes on Dylan because she doesn't act like a girly girl.
Yep, so Dylan basically self-sabotages this entire book.
They all do.
Oh my god.
They all do. This is the book of self-sabotage.
It is crazy. I texted Laura, I think this book has taken me 2 weeks to go through, and I think it's because there's a lot of anxiety going on for me, but they are so tragic in this book. I got secondhand embarrassment.
Well, even, like, remember when, like, Kristen had, there's this guy, his name is Griffin?
Yeah.
She sees him at the pizza place, and she's like, he's really cute. I would love to ask him. And they're like, Kristen, don't you think you need to date somebody with money? And I was like,
that was so mean.
And then they find out that he's, like, the heir to the pizza throne, and they're like, oh, well, we changed our mind. And I was like, wow, y'all are bad.
That was really shitty.
It was so shitty. Could you imagine if you were like, Laura, I'm, like, dating this person, and I think they're really great. And I'm like, yeah, but what do they do for a living? Like...
I would be like, what do I do for a living? I'm temping, and they're going to yell at me tomorrow
exactly.
because I left 2 hours early. So the party is soon, and they
all basically choose, like, Dylan wants to ask both of those guys. Massey is going to ask Darrington. Claire has to ask Cam, but she doesn't want to because something's going on.
They don't know what to do, so of course they make a list. My favorite part is number 10 on the list is, has anyone thought of finals?
Because has anybody thought of that? That was so funny.
Apparently Lane has, because Lane has showed up to Claire's house on this Friday, being like, we need to study for the math final, but the pretty committee, after seeing their first actual ESP, are like, they're broken, because Claire and Massey are going through it. So they're like, spa day immediately, so they invite Claire to spa day.
Yeah.
And they talk a little bit. This is where Lane fakes having her period.
I do have to say,
yes.
We open that scene with Claire wearing one of the spa's disposable swimsuits. And I wrote that down because I don't know what the fuck that is.
I was viewing a black one piece.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But
yeah.
Is it just like a cheap one? I don't know.
It also sounded like the black one piece was too big on her.
Yeah, I have no idea. They just kept calling it was a disposable swimsuit. And I was like, that's weird.
That is really bad for the environment.
Lane fakes having her period so she can listen in on what they're going to say when she's not there.
Yep.
And they find out that Massey had invited Lane because Massey needs to convince Chris to go with Skye. And then Lane's like, no, but I'll help you. And they're like, what's the catch? And she's like, I want one of those swimsuits, and I'll help you. Because my brother's been really sad lately.
Lane.
I love Lane so much.
Purity in her heart. She just wants Chris to get over this girl who spread a rumor that he fucks his horse.
And she has a really good pair of pants that'll look great with that swimsuit. That's her second reason, and I love it.
I've worn a black one-piece swimsuit of my friends with pants. It vibes.
I mean, that's what, like, basically what bodysuits are now. Like, those didn't exist in the 2004, 2005 era.
Put it on the list of reasons we love Lane. fashion forward.
God, can I also point out before we move on, this was also in the ESP session, because I'm going to be remiss if I don't say it, when Kemp said, if girls don't want to hook up, why do they dress like they do? Page 71 of this book can be burned for all I care. God, Kemp is the worst.
Kemp is the pervert, right?
Yeah, the team's biggest perv.
Okay, so figure this. Flash forward, it's adulthood for all of the girls. We don't know where any of the clique is going, but I will say Kemp gets Me Too'd in college. For sure.
Maybe in high school.
Oh, God.
Gross.
True.
Where are we going? Let's say, so they all agree that, Massey's gonna help Chris. So Massey just, goes over to Lane's house.
Yeah, Massey swallows her pride and is like, Lane, let's do this. Lane is having a whole plan, and Massey's like, I'm not having it. Just bursts into Chris's room.
Yeah, and then, locks Lane out, and Lane's like, what? And Massey's like, bye.
Bye. And Chris is like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
And Massey pretty much commands the room, which I commend her.
I honestly, this book is the first time I've liked Massey.
Yes.
And I noted that, and I was like, wow, I actually, kind of like Massey in this book.
She was just so confident in a way.
Yeah.
I would have never been around a
No,
high school
she
boy.
was, and her confidence is coming from not wanting to piss somebody off, which I think is hilarious, because she, wants Skye's approval so desperately.
Yeah, it actually makes her a human.
And, Massey's mission this whole book is, get Chris and Skye together.
Mm-hmm.
And, the first plan of them at, the horse stable didn't work out so well. And so this is, Massey's, I'm going in for it. And Massey's just, trying to cheer him up, just with things in his room.
Yeah, she's hitting on a lot of good points. What kind of a girl, Fawn, breaks up with a guy for liking his horse? And she's being really nice to Chris in a way that we realize, this is going to be a kind of guy who projects all of his mommy issues onto Massey and develops a crush on Massey.
Very quickly develops a crush on Massey, but I will say, still like him more than Darrington.
I do like that she just is like, okay, we're going to redress you, and opens the closet, and he's like, no, don't open the closet. And she's like, why? And sees all his Henleys, and she's like, hot. But my favorite part of the closet is that he has written out and taped lyrics from songs that are sad, but they're song lyrics like a Nickelback one that I don't know, a Nick Lachey one, and then Neo's So Sick. That's the one song that goes so done with wishing she was still here. And it's just that. That's one snippet.
God, that's so funny.
Just the most ridiculous lyrics.
And at the end of that, Chris invites Massey to hang out after the wave pool ceremony.
Yeah.
And Massey, honestly, Massey so confidently is just sure, just kind of shrugging it off.
Yes. And she's getting butterflies on her stomach.
She's never had butterflies with Darrington. Name one time.
We really want Chris and Massey to be together because I do not think Massey likes Darrington.
No, and I don't think Darrington really likes Massey.
No.
They kind of remind me of a couple in a 1950s movie where it's the cheerleader has to date the head football player, and then they get married, and 20 years later they just hate each other because they realize they never had anything in common in the first place.
Exactly. Chris is actually good for her. So the next day they have another ESP session. Oh God, they're trying to deal with these shitty guys.
And then, we're teased more with, Darrington and Cam just kind of throwing out the Cam being like, Darrington, you should talk about your thing, and Darrington being like, well, Cam, you should talk about your thing.
Yep. And they talk about they have 4 valves of the heart that is the most important to them.
Yeah.
And Cam says Claire, and that's when Darrington's
don't you mean Nikki?
Sticks the knife in deeper.
Twist it.
If I heard that, I would be like, oh, he's cheating.
Yeah, absolutely. I understand completely how Claire thought Cam was cheating on her the entire time.
I do like, though, at one point, Lane brings up a point that I love so much. She is like, I'm kind of happy that he has Nikki going on.
I was just going to bring that scene up, because this follows ESP, and Claire and Lane are hanging out, and she goes, I'm so glad that because he seemed too perfect.
He did. No one is that perfect in 7th grade, especially boys.
I know, and then she compared him to a serial killer for a really long time, and I thought that was hilarious.
That is so funny, because in my notes, I have been taking this dark triad test that serial killers score on, and I scored high, so now I have been psychoanalyzing all the characters in the serial killer one.
That's so funny.
I think out of the 5 girls, I think Dylan would score really high as a psychopath.
Oh, absolutely.
There's something off about
There's something weird about Dylan.
Yeah. But Lane, bless her heart, also is trying to help Claire find Nikki's MySpace page.
she just goes into the search bar on MySpace and types in Nikki, and she goes, there's 600,000 results. And Claire's like, how is this going to help? And she's like, it's better than just Googling it.
Exactly. And I
love Lane so much.
I love her. Like, Cam needs to have a character flaw other than having 2 different colored eyes.
God.
What is it? Is it because he smells like Drakkar Noir?
It's because his Big League Chew. He hasn't chewed that in a while. We haven't heard his Big League Chew.
He's really going through it.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That's why he's in therapy, is because he hasn't been... They're like, you haven't been chewing Big League. What's wrong?
Cam, you just haven't been chewing that Big League like you used to, bud. What's going on?
What's going on?
After this, though, Massey, again, all the confidence in the world, makes another swing to cheer up Chris Abley and takes him to get his hair cut.
I love that, because Skye is like, if you don't get this, I will throw the key in the bottom of the Hudson River. And I was like, ugh. And she finds Lane and is like, switch with me. You go with the pretty committee, I will get in Chris's car, and just sneaks into the passenger seat.
And before, like, Lane can really, like, object or think about it, like, Massey's, like, in the car, and she's like, drive, and Chris is like, okay, yeah, what's up?
It was really cute.
It was cute. They have good banter.
I think they really vibe a lot better. I like their scenes so much more. Darrington and her just seem
they don't really talk about anything.
Exactly. I will say, so she is trying to get Chris out of his stupor because JoJo's Too Little Too Late comes on the radio, and he's like, this was Fawn's favorite song. And I was like, this is so 2008.
God.
And she's like, I will set you up with Jacob, my hairstylist, to go get highlights. He didn't want highlights.
But he got him anyway because he likes Massey, and he's confident.
And you can tell he likes Massey because he says one of my favorite things on page 154. It is the wildest compliment. Also, it should be noted that he is driving a car. Yes, but he is a freshman. And we figure out he was held back, so he is 16, and Massey's like 13.
Maybe 13.
Maybe 13, we're not sure.
At least 12.
For context, before I read this quote on why he likes Massey. He likes Massey because Massey reminds him of his horse. You're both strong, you're both sensitive, and you're both really well proportioned.
And this is weird because in the last book, it's really implied that his ex-girlfriend started a rumor that he fucked his horse. So comparing a girl to your horse after this whole situation.
If anyone needs therapy, it's Chris.
Could you imagine if your girlfriend looked at you and then was like, babe, you're so well proportioned?
Well, I have done that to my girlfriend. I was actually reading this in bed next to her, and I was like, hey, who does this sound like? And I read it to her, and she was like, is that you? And I was like, I guess I'm comparing you to Chris Abley's horse. I don't know. Oops.
But then after this is the wave pool ceremony, which again, I wrote in my notes just like, because this was the first, we're now over halfway through the book, and this is the first time I've questioned, wait a minute, why is there a wave pool at a school? And also, why is there a ceremony for it?
I don't really know. And putting it on the roof of the school,
that can't be a good idea.
The ending that comes, you know it's coming.
Yeah.
It's on the fucking roof.
You can't put a pool on a roof.
I guess Chicago does it a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe a wave
it's hard
pool is
to
different.
I don't know. It feels like it's hard to keep clean.
Yeah, so this is where everyone is, because for some reason this is like the big red ribbon event in their town.
You know, the wave pool dedication ceremony.
Dylan gets with her 2 crushes. They are locked and loaded to go to this party. Massey is too busy trying to look for Chris, and Darrington kind of takes this as like, why are you trying to make me jealous?
And then Claire's busy being all weird around Cam.
Yep.
And he gives her a bracelet, like a leather bracelet that says, like, I love you on it, and she fucking throws it in the wave pool because she's so mad at him.
She throws it in the wave pool, and if I was Cam, I'd be a little confused about what my girlfriend's up to, because, again, she can't explain why she's mad, and he comes to her and is like, I might not go to camp, and she's like, this is it, he's going to say because of me, and she goes, why? And he goes, because I want to learn how to surf on the wave pool, and that really just pushes her over the edge.
And it honestly, wouldn't it? But then they start fighting, and Cam, like, also storms off. But then all of his friends go to be with him.
I do have to say, the boys are the most emotionally supportive group.
But they do treat women terribly.
Yes.
Can we ever have both?
Pros and cons to the boys, they have not worked out their girl issues in therapy, but they are a little over the toxic masculinity part of not expressing their emotions.
Exactly. It's like they're very good at talking about what they think and feel with each other. Very bad at the whole, like, treating women with respect sort of thing.
Yes. And then, of course, the other girls, the ones who we don't really care that much about, besides Massey and Claire. I will say Alicia transitioning in her conversation, pivoting with Josh about being like, I love when people do my chores. And he's like, me too!
Yeah. It's because Alicia's like, the moment she opens her mouth around Josh, it's like, obvious that she was watching the ESP situation, and she's just like scrambling for things, and then she lets the like, I like making people do my chores, and he's like, oh my god, me too.
Oh my god, I love servants.
So anyway, Dylan's the only person that locks and loads her date at this ceremony. So the next day they meet all outside a tree.
Yep.
To text the rest of their dates, because they're like, it's now or never. It's now, Thursday? And the party is Saturday.
I kept thinking the party was the next day, and then the next day would come, and they'd be like, the party is days away, and I was like, is it tomorrow?
When is this party happening?
I don't know.
I will say on page 170 and 171, there's just for some reason a bulleted list of everything that was inside Massey's bag when she dumped it on the grass.
I skipped it.
I skipped it too. I was just like, I literally put, why is this mess here?
I don't know how you could fit half those, because the Bose noise reduction earphones, wouldn't that take up most of the bag?
I don't know. I literally have no idea why we needed to know everything that was in Massey's bag. But anyway, they all, text their crushes. They all set those things up.
Yep.
Massey asks Chris Abley to go, so he will be there when Skye is there. And then Darrington sends her a text being like, why haven't you asked me to this thing?
Yep.
And Massey's like, yeah, I was just about to text you. Come with me. So then Massey accidentally has 2 dates.
This stresses me out because I know we said prior that this is a costume party, but how the fuck are you going to combine 2 costumes and convince that to your partner that...
I mean, you can't, because Chris was like, let's go as Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet.
Which made me fall more in love with him.
I love Chris. And then Darrington was like, let's go as David Beckham and Victoria Beckham. And it's like, Massey, those are 2 very different costumes.
I know, everyone was like, how are you going to fit angel wings under the Victoria Beckham? I think...
And you know what she does? She just wears the angel wings and doesn't even bring a second costume.
Which is, I guess, stand. So they are going as that. Alicia and Josh are obviously going as... Who's she obsessed with? Ralph Lauren?
Yes.
And his wife?
Oh, and his wife... something like Mitzi or something. I really don't remember.
That
Jackie.
Really paints such a picture of how preppy she is.
God.
Griffin, besides, so he's been trying to pass that he has a sensitive side so he can pass therapy, but he tells Kristen he wants her to be the bride of Chucky.
And he'll be Chucky. And Kristen's like, okay. This is the most personality we've seen from Kristen in a book so far.
Yep.
Because all she wants to do is impress this guy, and she, like, when they're having their spa day, she was like, can I put on this playlist I have? And it's just, like, the Saw 3 soundtrack. And they're like, Kristen, what the fuck is this? They're like, don't, and she's like, don't you like it? Griffin recommended it to me, and it's just like, the movie soundtrack to the movie Saw 3 is what you're listening to.
Yeah, and then she's like...
she's just trying to be so edgy.
She's like, how about this playlist for Skye's party? And it's just children screaming.
Yeah.
They're like, stop, Kristen.
Kristen, like, don't do this.
So, we have figured out, this really does confirm our theory that Kristen is just a chameleon to shapeshift to any social situation.
She really is. She really, really is.
We have gotten no insight into her, whatever.
God.
Kristen and Dylan I don't care about. I think Dylan is a serial killer. I think she would pass the Dark Triad test with flying colors. So, day of the party.
Yep.
Oh, wait. Okay, so I want to go back because this has been my favorite paragraph.
Absolutely, please.
I dog-eared it, the library book. So, page 180, when they are talking about the Briarwood Boys and who they're going to go with, this paragraph has hit me so hard. I think it's so funny. The realization forced Massey to reevaluate. Is emotional honesty in and fake confidence out? Before she had a chance to fully contemplate this, she spotted Claire dabbing her bleeding cuticles with a leaf. Is that not me? I pick up my fingers so much.
That's so funny.
Just looking for
God,
anything
this
to like.
book is really just on one all the 100% of the time, and I love it.
I was laughing so hard.
God, so freaking funny.
Okay, back to the party. I'm
Well,
sorry, I
okay.
had to read that passage.
We're gonna fast forward to the party, and I will say, on page 202, there is an itinerary for their plans this day of the party.
Mm-hmm.
But my issue with this, and I skimmed this one because, again, I don't like bulleted lists in books, but at 5 p.m. it says, text date to confirm. And it's like, wait a minute, you're going to confirm with the people you asked hours before the party? Like, we're still on for tonight, right?
Yep.
You don't do that.
And, okay, I did skip, but the night before is when they break into the Briarwood Boys school because they realize the shared Care Bear that they have for ESP.
The batteries have died.
The batteries have died, but they bring Lane, who is like a techie, so she's like, we have to find a hollow space in the wall to find the circuit breaker, and she is
just drilling into the wall. She's just like drilling into the ceiling, being like, I'm gonna find it, guys.
This was easily one of my favorite moments of the book, because she's just drilling, and then they're like, what's that? And it's like little droplets
of water, yeah.
And then it turns into a drizzle, and she's like, it's fine, it's an old school. And we're like, okay, the building's gonna
collapse. And she's
collapse.
like, it's a water pipe. These things happen all the time. And then they realize, they're like, oh, we just need to change the batteries in the share bear. We don't need to look for a breaker. And then they just leave.
Just knowing what was coming, I don't know why. Lane just makes the book so much better.
She really does.
Oh, God.
Okay, so then we're finally at this party, and Massey is at all costs trying to avoid Skye, and she's doing a thing which I've done before, is where you pretend to act like you're really invested in something you're doing, so you don't have to talk to another person.
Oh, yeah.
So she's acting like she's so invested in what Alicia's saying to her, so Skye won't approach her.
That's every improv party we go to in Chicago.
Oh.
Like, don't make eye contact.
Don't make eye contact.
So
stay close to your friends.
They show up early to Skye's party, and none of the guys are there. Darrington is like, hi, Massey, look at me. But Massey's distracted because Chris hasn't shown up yet.
Yeah, and Skye also isn't talking to her now. She's worried that, like, Skye knows, and she's pissed.
Yes.
Honestly, okay, and I'll say it, this is my favorite reveal in the book, is that Massey being like, Chris finally showed up, and Skye's like, okay. And, and she's like, you don't have to be jealous, like, it's not like we're a thing, he's here for you, and she's like, I don't care. And we were like, what? And that's when we find out that Skye has just moved on from Chris and likes Dune now, who's one of the wave pool guys.
Yep.
And she's like, I don't really care, you can have him. And Massey's like, wait, so we still get the key? And she's like, sure.
Okay, once again, I think Skye would score really high on the Dark Tria test because there's narcissism is all there. Mm-hmm. Machiavellium, which is when they are really petty and like scheme they're really revengeful. And psychopath. I think she would make a great serial killer.
I think she's just a young girl that just changes her mind easily. It could be either of those things. Who knows?
We'll leave that up
to
the
listeners to decide if Skye is just a girl who changes her mind, or could be a serial killer.
I think that's really
What are the odds that her and Dylan would both be serial killers, and they went to the same school?
Aw.
That's a spin-off series.
That's a spin-off series. Lacey, if you are listening, please spin-off series.
Please spin-off series where Dylan and Skye work together as serial killers.
So Massey's kind of upset because she's put in all of this effort, and when Chris comes, she is visibly excited because, yes, it is finally coming together. And Darrington sees that she's visibly excited, and he is like, why are you trying to make me jealous?
Yeah, and so, like, Darrington's pissed.
Yep.
And then, meanwhile, Claire finally just lets it slip out with Cam being like, because you're two-timing me with Camp at Nikki. And then Cam gets pissed at Claire.
Which is kind of upsetting because, okay, this is where we're going to have Cam discourse, and I genuinely don't know what I'm going to say. Because he gives her a frame photo of them and is like, I'm bringing this to camp with me, and then he breaks it. And I don't like it because I wanted him to be cheating on her. It's the same thing as Lane. I want something to be wrong with Cam.
Well, here's the thing. Something is wrong with Cam.
I think he has anger issues.
Because
he has a dark side.
Here's the thing is, Claire said, you're two-timing me with this girl. And Cam's saying, like, oh my God, no. He got defensive. Which makes me think he did something with this girl.
That is true because he said...
He even says, like,
now you're never going to
You're never going to even find... I'm not even going to tell you who Nikki is. And it's like, so you've been cheating on Claire. That's what it sounds like. You realize that, right, Cam?
Yeah.
And also, why did he have her IMs printed out in his backpack?
That is weird, especially when we are revealed later on, which we'll get to how they know each other.
Yeah, and so there's something that's not adding up. I think Cam is shady. I do agree Claire should have said something the moment she found those in his backpack.
Yeah.
Like, I forget that it's nosy. You just have to bring that up, being like, okay, I know I was doing a joke, and then the joke turned dark, and now here's what I know. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
And it's like, they all should have just talked about it. But Cam did not protect himself from being the bad guy, from just walking away and saying, I'm not even going to tell you who this girl is. And it's like, no, Cam, it makes you look like an asshole, like you've been cheating on your girlfriend this whole time.
That is fair. Like, he is still the bad guy, but for some reason, the way it's written, I feel like she keeps shedding a light on him that is like, she really wants him to be the good guy.
Yeah.
And that's why the Nikki ending was so disappointing.
Yeah, Claire has constantly given Cam too many chances. Like, think of it in, like, Dial L for Loser, when he dumped her because she had to do her job.
He's really manipulative.
He's so manipulative. Oh my god.
I would be so anxious. No wonder her fucking cuticles are bleeding all the time.
Right? Like, she has to constantly impress her serial killer boyfriend.
And then she has to look for objects to wipe the blood off of her hands.
Like dead leaves.
Because she can't stop picking. She's like, duh.
Oh my god. Okay, so this party ends. Everybody just gets dumped.
Everyone gets dumped.
Well, except for Alicia. But Alicia's like, I have to stay with my friends, though, because, like, I don't want to be the only single one. You get it, right?
Which is really frustrating.
God, Alicia does that.
But Kemp and Chris dumped Dylan because
she's too gross now.
Now she's gone off the deep end.
Yeah, she turned into Shrek, was their words.
She gained 8 pounds, she said.
Yeah, too many.
Too many pounds.
That's too many pounds.
For a person?
Oh,
no, thank you.
No.
They said bye-bye. Alicia's fine. Griffin is mad that Kristen thinks he has a sensitive side.
Yeah, and so he's just like, whatever, over this. And then Darrington dumps Massey because he's just like, obviously like this other guy more. And then here's where I get mad, is now Massey wants to be with Darrington because she can't have him.
I know, and she even flat out says, because he is like, you are immature, and she's like, me? No, sweetheart. You shake your butt as a emotional response to everything. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Also, he wears shorts in the winter.
Yeah.
He would score high on the dark triad test. Once again, viewers, tell me if Derek has no feeling in his legs, or if he is a serial killer.
Listeners, we want to know from you, who in this book is the serial killer?
Dylan.
Find us on Instagram, DM us, we want to know. Sealed with a diss? More like killed with a diss by a serial killer.
Killed with a diss. I thought you were going to go with killed with a kiss, but
I try to keep it as much with the book title as possible.
I liked that little twist.
Okay, well, so now...
Most embarrassment was when Claire hid behind the island at that party, and he was like, I can see you!
Oh, I had secondhand embarrassment from that. That was so bad.
Claire was off the handle. She wins award for most chaotic.
She really was very chaotic, this book. But then Massey calls for a boy fast, like the day after. She's like, nope, we're not doing the whole boy thing anymore.
We're not doing the whole boy thing, and then we finally
find out who Nikki, well, sort of we find out who Nikki is.
Given who Nikki is. So Lane comes over. Claire's obviously upset, because they are, done. They're done. And Lane is like, guess what? I found Nikki's MySpace, and Nikki is either a psychopath on the Dark Triad test, or
Cam dumped her, ghosted her or something.
Yeah, because as we know, he's manipulative.
Who knows? Should we read Nikki's MySpace entry?
Yeah. Do you want to? I feel like you could better.
Page 233. Name, Nikki, wannabe Fisher, but have to be Dalton. Age 12, status heartbroken. Date, March 31st. Title, final entry. I surrender. I've rented every romance that Netflix has, twice. And I've tried every trick ever put on DVD, and nothing has worked. I even got a part in our school musical hoping he'd quit soccer, transfer to Alvin Middle, and sing with me. Love you, Zac Efron, but he didn't. I sent cinnamon hearts for Valentine's Day, gummy bears on Fridays, and a case of Jones soda with a picture of us printed right on the label. Remember the cute one I posted after the summer of us on the camp canoe docks, almost touching shoulders? Anyway, the flavor was crushed melon, since he crushed me, but he didn't get it. The joke, I mean. He got the case, because I had the tracking number, and I tracked it, and someone named Harris Fisher signed for it. And I know that's his brother because I paid this online service to research his family. It was going to be his gift for Arbor Day. But I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not doing anything anymore. That crushed melon was the last thing I'll ever send him. A week after Harris signed for the soda, Cam sent me an email telling me, for the last time, to stop sending him things. He wants to be friends at camp, but he only wants one girlfriend, and that's Clique. I can't even type her name. It's too painful. He told me he loved is bleeped out,
Oh, okay.
loved her. Can't type the word. It hurts like mad. Then he said, I have to respect that, and I have. Because love is all about respect, and I love him. So I've not sent another thing, not even an I am. Yes, of course, I still check his horoscope, Taurus. And when I go under a bridge, I hold my breath and pray he'll have a crush on me this summer, but that's it. Proud of me or what? I will write again when I find a love who loves me back. Broken plus heart equals Nikki.
Katya of Trixie and Katya is a Taurus.
Oh.
And she kind of went off the handle. How would she score on the Dark Triad test?
Honestly, maybe Nikki might be the serial killer.
Yeah, Nikki paying for the family tree service is a lot.
It's a lot.
I'm not gonna say he led her on. We don't know, but also believe women.
Yeah, and we're reaching the end of the book. The book basically ends that the hole in the ceiling flooded Briarwood, and now the school is gonna be co-ed.
Yep.
And we're left with a cliffhanger.
And Alicia and Josh can't talk anymore, but they're gonna be in the same school.
Okay, we're gonna do our top 5 list.
Yep.
Like we always do. And this book, this is our top 5 reasons Massey should choose Chris Abley over Darrington.
Yes. Okay, so number 5, we were really annoyed by the fact that Darrington invited himself to the party.
You can't do that.
You
can't just be like, where's my invite?
No.
That's gross.
Especially because it doesn't sound like they text or talk at all during the week.
No. But also, like, Massey refers to him as her boyfriend multiple times, and I'm like, bitch, when did you guys label yourselves? You didn't.
Yeah.
Okay, number 4, Chris Abley can drive. Girl. That's all you need. Darrington has a fucking bike that you sat on weird that one time.
Exactly. If you need to go back to episode 7, we have a really in-depth analysis on how she sits on Darrington's
We don't
bike.
know how Massey was riding that bike with Darrington, and we might never.
I don't know. We don't know.
We don't know.
It seemed like she was trying to ride side saddle on a bike.
I don't know.
It's not a horse, sweaty. Easy. Number 3, he's so much more emotionally mature.
God.
I mean, sure, he did drink that one Mike's Hard Lemonade in his room to get over Fawn that one time in one of the books. But I think, handles it sort of better.
Yeah, he's just, overall, he's just, like, he's more invested in Massey. He's just cooler, he's calmer, he's more confident.
He's indicated so much more in one book that he likes her more than Darrington likes
Oh,
her.
God, don't even get me started. And number 2, big one, Chris and Massey actually have things in common.
Yes.
Well, like, every time her and Darrington talk to each other, I feel like it's just, like, kind of just, like, 2 bricks just kind of standing in a room together.
Exactly. Chris rides horses, and he's like, that's all I care about. And Massey at one point was like, all I read in, like, teen people is features on horses.
Yeah, exactly.
They have a lot in common. And they're going to camp together.
Exactly. And that brings us to number 1. It would just, if Massey chose Chris, and if Massey did this while Skye was crushing on him and she, like, stole Chris away from her, it would make her an alpha. And that's all Massey wants to be. This would make her the truest alpha.
If performing was back in Chicago, you would see how much Laura and I like Strategic's moves because we are obsessed with MTV's The Challenge.
And they do make a challenge joke in this book. Did you catch it? On page 3?
I think, but I don't remember.
They just briefly mentioned, like, comparing it to the Real World Road Rules Challenge. And I was like,
because Lacey Harrison wrote on Road Rules. I read in the last book.
Yeah.
Crazy.
All
right, let's get to the ins and outs.
Our State of the Union.
So, what is going to have to be out for this book? All of the soccer boys.
God, get rid of them.
They can...
Get rid of them.
Go to therapy.
Go to hell. Respect women. You already are all in therapy together.
It's fair. Learn how to respect women there. And in our Zac Efron icon, Chris Abley.
Maybe he had sex with his horse. We don't know.
Maybe that makes him more in.
We don't know. Viewers, we want to know, does that make Chris Abley in?
Where would that land him on the Dark Triad test? Serial killers kill animals. Oh, wait, they also do fuck animals. They're Andrew Shawcross.
There's a bunch of different types of serial killers in the world, Meggie. They can't all just be put in one box.
I know, that is fair. I'm trying to box them.
Yeah. That's really unfair to the serial killers. Our next out is jumping to conclusions. Claire, why would you do that? Literally everyone in this book is just jumping to conclusions. And what's going to be in is, like, communicating. It's simple as that. I feel like that's been in before, but it should always be in.
You can't bring up what is upsetting you, but I really think you could be like, I feel like there's been something off between us, and I kind of want to get to the bottom of it.
Easy way to communicate.
Exactly. And number 1 for our State of the Union will have to be out is definitely the wave pool dedication ceremony.
First time I've heard of it was in this book, and it will be the last time I've heard of a wave pool dedication ceremony.
Very weird. And it has to be in is the whole pretty committee committing a felony and destroying the Briarwood Boys.
Honestly,
school.
really hot that they did that.
That was cool as fuck when Lane just drilled into the ceiling and was like,
building's old, and just like it walked out of the room.
And then it collapsed. But there is anxiety hanging over this book because they did say they will get to the bottom of who flooded the school.
Uh-oh.
I'm nervous!
I'm nervous, but I'm excited for book 9.
Is Bratfest at Tiffany's the next book?
Yes, that's the next one.
Ooh.
Oh, we're so excited. Okay, that's it for this episode. Make sure you're following us at Meggie and Laura. This podcast is a part of the Social Podcast Network. There's tons of other cool podcasts on there that you should be listening to. You can also follow them on all social medias as well. Please make sure you're subscribing to us, reviewing us, rating us, telling your friends about us would be really freaking hot.
Yep.
We'd love that so much. But yeah, we had so much fun this episode. We hope you did too. And we will see you for book 9, Bratfest at Tiffany's.